All right, so a bunch of stuff going on. Obviously, bye weeks behind us. I actually heard this first reported by JP Finley. I'm not saying he broke the story, but I was listening to him. I guess maybe when I was leaving the dentist's office. That Jamison Crowder has returned to practice. They opened the 21-day window on him. I didn't realize it was a calf injury that had put him out. I guess like maybe in week 3 or something like that. So they got a 21-day window to return him to action, or else he'll be done for the season. So I definitely think he could be helpful. Obviously, returning kicks. He could play a slot for you. He could catch some big sort of third down balls.
I'll be honest, I kind of forgot he was on the roster.
Yeah.
when that news broke yesterday, I was like, it just reminded me, oh, Jamison Crowder's still on the roster.
Didn't you remember when we went through, who was it that had the ball hit him off the head?
Oz. That was your guy.
Yeah,
Oz.
Zacchaeus. Well, I like.
Yeah.
But immediately you're like,
we talked about who could replace
Crowder?
him.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, we knew he was hurt. We just didn't know how bad it was.
I didn't realize it was a calf.
He's very out of sight, out of mind. But good to have him back. And have him practicing.
I like Jamison Crowder. I didn't think he had as much left in him as he showed last year, to be honest with you. What's interesting, I also didn't know this, Valdez. There's a story that the Eagles are expected to sign a former commander. Did you see that?
Ooh, hold on. I think I might have seen it.
Defensive lineman?
No.
Give me another hint. Offensive or defensive player?
I could give you a lot of hints.
All right.
Offensive player.
Skill position or big fat guy?
Skill position-ish.
Skill position adjacent. I don't know.
How about Valdez's golf buddy?
Logan Thomas.
I didn't realize that when San Francisco signed him, that they cut him to start the season. I had no idea.
Yeah, he didn't play all year.
He's been chilling. He's been chilling, but I guess they need help. They're looking for somebody to.
Because Goddard's hurt, right?
Red zone stuff in the
if he signs
playoffs.
If he signs with Philly, you guys could do hey, let's meet in the middle and play it like caves. That's more like closer to you, but still, it's pretty nice.
Got to get on caves first.
Yeah, that's true. That's a tough pull. I know it's very swanky, very exclusive.
Now, this is from sportingnews.com. It seems like somebody here is suggesting it, but the headline is expected to sign. So who knows? It's pure speculation.
Could fail the physical.
But Matt Holder, Bleacher Report, is the one that says he thinks they're going to sign Logan Thomas to help with depth.
Because Dallas Goedert has been out, I think, 2 weeks now with an injury.
And then Calcaterra has been getting the targets from tight ends.
Yep. But they need some depth there. So
that's interesting.
Good for him if he signs there.
And then on our end, there's another rumor. Now, this is from a site that has no credibility.
What's the name of the site?
Heavy, heavy.com.
Sure.
I give that site very little credibility.
Right.
But it's like a Rumorville site. But they're saying the Commanders are urged to sign former $50 million free agent offensive tackle La'el Collins down the stretch.
Okay.
And he's had quite an odyssey. Remember, he had the incident, what was it, with a girlfriend or something? Something crazy.
Right before the draft.
And is he the one that had the gas mask on when he was smoking?
No, that was Laramie Tunsil.
Oh, Laramie Tunsil. Okay, I'm getting him confused.
Different guy.
But then he signed a $50 million deal, and then I think he got hurt, and then he signed a $21 million deal maybe with the Bengals. Then I think he got hurt again. Then he signed a 1 year, $1.75 million deal. I think he basically still hasn't proven he's fully recovered from an ACL, but he's out there. And
so he's on the practice squad. Who's he with right now? Or is he a free agent?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I thought he was a free agent.
Okay.
I thought he was a free agent.
So maybe you're right. Yeah. So he signed a 1 year deal with the Bills, but they cut him right before the last roster cuts, right before week 1.
Right. So he's a veteran guy that obviously has done a lot in this league. Cakes.
Yeah.
It's certainly worth kicking the tires on if you could bring him in for some help along the offensive line. I just question whether or not he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, those are a few rumors that are out there. Zach Ertz, speaking of tight ends, was fined $16,000, Cakes, for a blindside block he had against the Titans last week. That went unbeknownst to me.
You'd be bitter if you had $16K taken out of your paycheck because of a block. You wouldn't be happy.
I wouldn't be happy, but if I had that much in there, I probably wouldn't sweat it too much either.
Does the team cover that, or is that all out of his
I don't
pocket?
think the team covers that.
He has to cover that. Yeah,
I think that's straight out of pocket.
So obviously, with the Saints, it's a 1:00 game on Fox.
Man, Commanders are pretty big favorite. 7.5, -360.
The total's low in this one, 42 points.
Yep.
So if you
I see
look
43
the
and a half
matchup predictor on ESPN, which I always get a kick out of, it has Washington winning 69.9% of the time. I think the deal is, obviously with their quarterback issues, Alvin Kamara. It's all down to Alvin Kamara, right?
Yep.
I mean, he's the main weapon there. I know that
he leads them in rushing and receiving.
They're trying to take some of the workload off of him because they've used him so much at this point. And he's not 22 years old. I think he's 29 at this point.
He's having a remarkable season.
He's having a great year.
Mm-hmm.
He hasn't necessarily scored a ton. I mean, 6 touchdowns rushing and 1 receiving, but he's caught 64 balls and he's ran 223 times.
Yeah, they want to ease that workload, especially it's a lost season for them. And they just re-upped him for, I think, 2 more years. They tacked 2 more years onto his deal. So expect to see a little more of Kendry Miller sprinkled in. He scored a touchdown this past week.
They were running him against the Giants.
And he's a young back that he had really fallen out of favor with Dennis Allen and the previous coaching staff.
Now they're throwing him back in.
So they're giving him a chance at this point to see what he's got.
I'll tell you what's really hurt the Saints is the fact that Olave's been out.
Yep.
Seems like most of the year with his concussions, and then now Taysom Hill out for the rest of the year.
Correct.
So you're taking those two. I'm not sure if Olave is going to play this game. And Shaheed.
Shaheed was a huge, deep target for them the first half of the season. I don't remember whether he tore an ACL. He had a big injury, knocked him out for the rest of the year, but they've suffered a lot of personnel losses on offense.
You think about all of the offensive weapons that are out and possibly out for the Saints, with obviously their starting quarterback Carr, and then Shaheed, who's been out all year.
Yep.
Taysom Hill, and then if Olave doesn't play, you basically have one guy that they can go to, maybe 2.
You got Kamara and
Juwan Johnson's pretty good.
Juwan Johnson can step in at tight end, but with Hill down,
you can't lose to this team.
Yeah, this is one where you just have to. When you're looking at the final 4 games and realize you need to win 2 or 3 of them, this is one of those 2 or 3 that is a must-have.
And clearly, Vegas thinks that they will win, -360 on the money line.
So what is interesting is if you just want to replay their schedule in your mind a little bit. A lot of us here, you're not really tracking New Orleans. So they got off to a big start against Carolina. Big win, 47-10 in week 1. Then another big win against Dallas. I mean, 2 mediocre teams, but they scored 91 points.
They're killing it in their
first 2 games, right? Remember that? We talked about how good they were offensively. And then they went on a 7-game slide.
Correct.
Right? So they lost to Philly in a snoozer, 15-12. That sounds like all field goals. They lost to Atlanta, a 2-pointer, 26-24. Then they lost to the Chiefs. Then they lost to Tampa. Then they lost to Denver. Then they lost to the Chargers. Then they
lost to some good teams.
To the Panthers after they beat them, dominated them a week 1. Now, was that an Andy Dalton start or was that a Bryce Young? I think that was a Bryce Young start.
I could double check the box on that. That was a Bryce Young game.
Right. Yeah. But then, now they've got the injury, and I guess they're officially listing Carr as questionable.
I mean,
I think he's going to be out.
Is it a confirmed fracture?
They're calling him week to week.
Left hand fracture. Not
it's a left hand. So that's why they're leaving it up for grabs. They have won 3 of the last 4, though.
Correct.
So it's not like they're beating juggernauts.
Beat the Falcons, the Browns, and the Giants.
Right, and they lost to the Rams.
Yeah.
Right, but
I mean, when they were on that 7-game slide, they lost to some really good teams. But remember, Carr got hurt. This is the second time Carr has been hurt. He got hurt earlier in the year, and they had to put Rattler in there for 3 games. But I'm sorry. I mean, Carr's not going to play. And I don't know if it's going to be Rattler or Haener, but you have to beat this team with all the injuries they've got.
I'll give them this.
Especially coming off a bye.
Their defense held the Falcons to 17. They held Jameis and company to 14 points. And they hold the Giants. Now the Giants are awful. Drew Lock under center. They hold them to 11 points. They can keep the points down. So hopefully the Commanders, fresh off the bye, Jaden's 100% healthy. Hopefully they do what they do and go in and score 28 to 30 points against this team. And it's not even close. Don't make it a close, 1-score affair late in the game.
Right.
That favors the Saints, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I believe he did this yesterday. Dan Orlovsky ranked the top 20 NFL quarterback receiver duos of 2024. Now,
Okay.
I want you to guess a couple things. I want you to guess like the sort of the top couple.
One's easy.
And then
one's pretty easy.
And then I want you to see where I want you to guess if Jaden and company made.
All right, well, one has to be Burrow and
Chase.
Okay.
Right.
Two,
Darnold Jefferson have to be up there.
Darnold Jefferson is number 3.
That's number 3.
Goff St. Brown, number 2.
Number 4. You're missing number 2.
Number 2. It's the number 2 wide out.
And it's probably just because I think.
Is it Tua Tyreek?
No, it's Jalen and AJ Brown, which they haven't put up gaudy statistics, but I guess the big thing is their average connection is 12.5 yards per attempt, which is tops amongst duos with at least 50 targets.
It seems like
I gotta say,
Stafford
Stafford and Puka have got to be up there,
especially lately. It seems like AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, there's definitely a rift there. They used to be like super tight, and then I think it was yesterday, AJ Brown was asked like, "What's going on with the offense?" And he's like, "Passing game needs to be better."
Yeah,
direct shot.
Well, remember I told you when I was watching that game.
Yeah,
they always pan after when Philly was on defense, they were panning to the bench, and it was Brown and Devontae just griping.
Well, I think
not necessarily at each other. They were just bitching at the fact that they couldn't score touchdowns.
Bigger picture, what's probably the root cause of that is because Saquon has been so good on the ground, they just don't pass the ball a lot. Just look at I think they're one of the lower passing rate teams in the entire league.
Yeah.
So like you got AJ Brown, who's a diva wide receiver. He wants the CeeDee Lamb treatment. He wants the Jamar Chase treatment. He's not going to get it in that offense with Saquon racking up
because
the yardage.
Saquon's got to touch the ball 25 times.
No,
right.
Valdez, I'm sure you'll have some pride, even though these are kind of like trivial little lists. But they have Lamar and Zay Flowers, top 5, best duo. C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, 6 cakes. Russell Wilson and George Pickens, 7. You mentioned Tua, Tyreek, 8th, 9th. Jaden and Terry McLaurin. So we're a top 10 duo. We squeaked into the top 10.
I might have them a spot or 2 higher. I think 9's kind of low.
Based on touchdowns, you're right, because a lot of these only have like 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. Right. I don't know.
I'd put Stafford, Puka ahead of Jaden.
They have Baker, McLaurin. Mike Evans, 10, Mahomes, DeAndre Hopkins. They haven't really produced. 11, Herbert, Lad McConkey. Stafford and Puka are down to they're 13th.
That's way too low.
But he's
Puka's been hurt. Yeah,
he's been hurt.
But when he's healthy, that's a top 3 duo.
Definitely.
Anyway, we're getting closer. It's only Tuesday, but we'll try to dive more into New Orleans. I'm sure
it's a big one.
I'm sure Drabby and Valdez and those guys will maybe have somebody from New Orleans as we get closer to game time to kind of break it down. But it's a big one, Cakes.
Yep,
massive
certainly is.
One.
As the Commanders are coming out of the bye week road trip to New Orleans. You forgot to mention Chase Young revenge game. I know you love that narrative so much. You're the biggest fan.
I look at his boxes.
It's another subplot,
and he's I don't know what he does in quarterback pressures and all those metrics, but he's maybe 1 tackle a game.
Right.
Doesn't sack anybody.
Safe to say he was massively overdrafted. I think everybody can agree on that.